Manifest.
Hey y'all, what's up? This is Wormhole Matt. Our guest today is a man I've known for a while on social media circuit. He's a father, a gamer, a streamer, and a hilarious joker on Twitter. Let's give it up for Mannie.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy SoopaMannieB, coming to you live from a lovely 51 degrees in Northwest Ohio. So, if you're ready for winter, I think I've just seen Elsa say winter is coming. So, I'm ready for it because the fact it's been too hot this summer. But, I think I'm ready to bring out the inner polar bear of me.
Yeah, I hear you. It's just been too damn hot of a summer. I think they said it's been the hottest summer of on record, I think.
Listen, Satan had his doors open and say, listen, you about to catch some of this heat. He letting all the vaccinated workers like, hey, this is where you coming right now. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But still, it was really hot this summer.
Yeah, it was too hot, especially when your AC doesn't work that well. It's struggling, it's just you can hear it in there, just working itself to death to try to keep the place cool. But it's just it's no, we can't do this, and it was like that a couple of years ago. And then the whole thing just said, I'm done, so I had to call the landlord and they had to come out and replace the whole furnace thing, the inside thing and the outside unit. So central air.
So I like to know, how much weight did you lose from sweating just like that? Wait for the AC to get fixed. I'm pretty sure you lost a good about 5-6 pounds. And I'm not trying to say that, you're fat or anything, but listen, I hate the heat. When I was younger, I loved the heat and everything. But now I'm, 41, 42. I'm just listen, I hate summer. I love summer, but I hate summer. It's I love it because it's going to be nice. It's going to be lovely, 80 degrees. But once it hit 85, 90, 95, I'm not leaving the house. I'll see you at night.
Yeah, no.
So, yeah.
Try to find those things to do, that involve if you have to go out, you're only outside for 5 minutes and then you're immediately back in someplace. I know when I was younger, I used to and it was so hot outside, I'd be all right, let's, friends are want to do something. And I'm yeah, let's go to the mall, because it's going to be cold in there. So.
Yeah, mall, yep, mall, yep, shopping center, yes. Trying to go to someplace like Cedar Point or Disney World where you're sitting in line trying to get to some ride and it'll be about an hour wait, and by the time you get there, you're looking like skin and bones because you're dehydrated. I'm good on that. I'm not. Listen, I'm a good 300 pounds. So when I say that, I'm not looking Fat Albert, hey, anything like that. But I'm a big guy. I'm a big husky guy, and I don't like the heat. I'll put on some shorts when it's 65, 70 degrees. 90 degrees.
Yep.
You will not see me until after summer. So this is my season. This is big guy season right now. So this is big guy season. I just want to let them know right now that, ladies, you got yourself a big guy. You're fine. All those girls out there with the skinny guys, why are you cheating yourself right now? Get yourself a big guy, and you'll be warm all winter.
Keep you warm, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've actually I was getting pretty skinny for a while, and it was because I was on these different medications, and they slimmed me down because I wasn't eating. I just never was hungry. And then once I got off those medications, boom, it just hit me. I was wow, food tastes good. I'm I want all of the food, and I just and then I went crazy, man. I all last year during the pandemic, I bought a new grill, because I was in a several year depression. I wasn't active. I wasn't doing anything except popping pills and laying in bed. But I didn't gain much weight. And then all of a sudden I'm I got to do something. So I'm going to get off all these medications. I did it very safely with the help of my doctor, very slowly. But then after I got off 2 or 3 meds and I got my new grill, and it was before the pandemic started last year, I'm like, I had nothing better to do. Like I wasn't going outside.
I
Everybody's in
mean,
lockdown.
who really had anything better else to do because of the pandemic? Let me get that straight. And
Well, yeah, that's
I
true.
understand, like, you had to take your medicine and everything. You did what you had to do, and I commend that. But like, get back to the pandemic and everything. I mean, it wasn't really much you could do out there anyway, because the fact is, we were trying to basically stay safe.
Yep.
I was a victim of COVID back in March, and when I say that was a victim, I have never experienced that in my life. Being able
Wow.
not to like taste or smell or anything, that was not the BGs. You know,
Oh man,
so
I didn't even know that. I didn't
yeah.
see you tweeting about it.
I didn't post. Listen, I try to keep a lot of stuff to myself on
Yeah.
there because Twitter is Twitter, hard to
Yeah,
contain
yeah,
with
I know. I've
everything.
noticed
But
that you're kind of like you kind of keep to yourself, but like, and you don't let, like I'm like I don't know, I probably look like a drama queen when I'm on Twitter, like sometimes because I'm just like blaring out all kinds of crazy stuff, or at least I used to. Like several years ago, I was just like
yeah,
no holds barred, like whatever I was dealing with at that moment was getting
uh-huh.
said,
hmm
but like I've been more kind of reserved lately, like now that I'm
yeah,
coming out of my stupor, like wow, I can't believe I even said that stuff, like I'll see the tweets in my Time Hop app, and I'm like, oh my God, I was really going through some stuff back then. But
and
yeah, you're right.
I think because like Twitter now is different when we first got on Twitter. There was a lot of
Yeah,
hashtags, a lot of fun, a lot of games, but I just feel like the app has taken to more of a think piece, so you have to be careful what you have to say. Which I wouldn't say anything controversial or anything that would cause me any distress or anything, but I think a lot
yeah,
of times the app takes it too far, especially some of these up and coming people that just joined on Twitter about 5 years ago. Because now you could joke about something, and then it becomes a whole think piece, and you just think like, okay, you just ruined the joke. So I'm just going to log off for the day and keep tweeting and everything. So,
yep,
but I like to see a lot of people they have progressed to much more of um a progression in the app, because a lot of people I've followed for maybe 10 or more years have grown to where they got their own families and doing other stuff and just moving on up. And I commend that. So you don't see them out there
yeah,
tweeting. So the ones I followed since day one, like you, Matt, and everybody else, I like progressing. Keep up the good work, and focus on the mental health,
thanks, man.
because mental health is the best thing you need. I know physical health is what you need to stay alive, but also that mental health is just as important as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you have to have a good balance of both, because you can't really do one without the other. You gotta, so, but I mean, like if your brain's not there, you're not gonna do anything physically, like, and so like you got to get that straight, like almost first, and then you can work on the other stuff, But it's been a rough ride for me, but and a lot of people know that, but like you know but yeah, like talking about the pandemic
hmm
and stuff,
Yeah.
like once I got that grill, man, I started falling in love with cooking again.
Uh
Like,
huh.
and I haven't done it for like 10 years. I used to, I grew up in South St. Louis City, and you grilled pork steaks every like summer, like every day almost. It was like,
What's wrong with pork steaks? I love pork steaks. I love a good pork steak.
oh
So,
man, they're awesome, man. That's like my favorite food. Like, and I come up with all, like, we have like our own, like, there was the way to do it in South City,
uh
but
huh.
like when you go to other cities, because I moved around a lot being in the
Yeah.
military and
Uh
stuff,
huh.
like, I try to go find pork steaks and you can't find them. Like, they're like they're called something different. They're like pork blade steak or pork butt, or but it's not really a butt. It's not a pork butt. It's
Uh
the
huh.
shoulder. It's the shoulder meat. But like St. Louis coined that terminology of pork steak, and
Yeah.
it was based on um, the pork they would put into the barrels in
Uh
the
huh.
shipping port, which was called the
Mm-hmm.
Boston butts, and that's where like it was called a pork butt, but it was like
Huh.
the pork was put in the barrels in Boston, and then that would go out to sea and they would ship out and stuff. But like they would bring it into St. Louis, and it became like they would cut it like I guess differently. They would use the shoulder
Mm-hmm.
and cut it into these nice thick like 1 to 1.5 inch pork steaks, and it just became the thing for like ever. And you go anywhere on 4th of July in St. Louis City, and somebody is grilling pork steaks. Like that's how big it is. But yeah, like I started just falling in love with cooking, I'm like, all these different things I've been doing since I've been getting my mental health straight, like it's like a world has opened up and I'm just like, I got to do all this stuff. So like I got that grill and everything's in lockdown. So I'm like, what am I going to do this weekend? I'm like, oh, I'm going to grill. What am I going to do tomorrow? Oh, I'm going to grill. Like maybe I'll make some chili, like I bought an Instant Pot. So I started looking up recipes for homemade chili. And I'm like, before that, it was like chili in the can, like the what is it? Was it Wolf Man or Hungry Wolf?
It's I know what you're talking about. It's that. It's Campbell soup crap. That's what you're going to call it because it comes in Campbell soups and everything.
Yep.
So if you like good chili, by the way, side note, we're supposed to get into the podcast, but side note, I know Cincinnati got some good chili, so check that out.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much everything in Cincinnati is about chili.
Wow.
So it's really nice down there. So
that's kind of like a staple thing there, just kind of like pork steak is. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Somewhat. So. All right, man. You brought me on this podcast. So what we talking about today, man?
All right. Well, let's see. First of all, I like wrote up a bunch of questions. Like I wanted to let everybody know that since I'm kind of in the beginning stages of producing this podcast, like I'm going to be trying out several different things so that people don't, like instead of just writing out a detailed detailed show notes and like a script, basically, like I'm going to do different things like every episode to kind of change it up until something feels like it wants to stick, until so it's like, I've been on other podcasts and we basically just kind of go back and forth and talk about whatever. This podcast I started with the idea that it was going to be kind of a variety show, but the overall theme was the mental health thing because of like my recovery and all this stuff.
Okay.
Plus, like I've been doing a lot of research and like I've taken like every kind of antidepressant, anti-anxiety and bipolar medication and all this stuff, but like none of those worked for me. So I'm trying to spread awareness to people that there is going on right now a psychedelic renaissance, which basically it has taken up the reins from the late 50s and late 50s through the 60s up until the war on drugs started like in 1972. And basically right then in 72, they stopped all research using these different substances. But before that, a lot of these substances were being tried out in different areas, such as like LSD for treatments for alcoholism. And actually that's where the starting for AA started based on LSD. Like their whole idea was to, they started coming in there like we're going to treat these alcoholics with LSD and this like 12-step plan or whatever the AA uses. I was reading about that, but like, anyway, now it's kind of coming back around and a lot of this research is being put out there and there's been a lot of positive feedback on people that have used these psychedelic substances to treat their mental illnesses. And the research is out there now too, because I mentioned in the last podcast that MDMA, as some people know as ecstasy or Molly, it wasn't originally a street drug. There was a purpose for it. Like, but it was outlawed, like all the rest of this stuff. But now it is being used to treat veterans who have PTSD. And so, but it's in a controlled setting, through psycho therapists and stuff like that are trained to administer this kind of therapy, so basically a veteran who has PTSD is treated one time and has shown like a 75%, like they've gotten a whole lot better and it's lasted for up to like 6 months or something like that. Don't quote me on this stuff because I'm not reading it, but like I've read a lot about it and it's showing huge promise, and I think it's, like me having I don't have combat PTSD, but I have a different form of it, from various traumas that I've suffered. But the once, the big pharmaceutical companies are pushing all these medications that only treat your symptoms. And when you're suffering like this, you don't want to treat just the symptom, because you end up, a lot of people, for me, it turned me into like a zombie and I couldn't do anything.
Uh-huh.
But so yeah, they're treating the symptom and not really getting into like what the root cause of the issues are, like what deep down is going on, and what can we change in your brain to help you deal with this, like think better and all this stuff. So that's just something that, like, I don't want to get into all that like this episode, but like the whole point of me starting the podcast is kind of share some of my experience with the way that I've been handling my trauma and my mental illness and things like that. And psychedelics has been a big part of that. Like my recovery is all like, the things that you see me on Twitter and stuff, and I'm tweeting things, and I'm like, I'm not really trying to be funny. Like I'll just say random stuff, but I'm also throwing out little tidbits of like useful information I found out, things that I'm like, this is something that helped me, so maybe someone out there, if they're looking, they're like, oh, like either they didn't know about it or they have heard about it. I've commented on other people's posts that have mentioned psychedelics, and I'm like, hey, I kind of like put my hand up. I'm like,
yeah,
I know they work.
I think the issue with psychedelics right now is that as a society, we have been known to use it in a legal manner. And I'm not saying it's wrong. Whatever you do, what you do make you feel better. That's on you. I have dabbed in marijuana, a lot, edibles and everything, and it's more of a stress reliever than just taking that. That's something, that's my personal thing. I think the issue is that it depends on who you get inside, Congress, and who you get inside, in there could actually turn us around. The problem is too, if you think about it, this is, like I said, my opinion, instead of using psychedelics naturally, that can be helped. A lot of business come from big corporations in the medical field that outlaw that, because they know that, if the drug companies are basically not allowing it and make it as if like make it to where, people in Congress make it illegal, it puts more money in their pocket. So now, you go to the point where you get off the streets. But the problem is too, is that, a lot of people get addicted to that and not in a controlled form. That's becomes an issue as well. So,
well, and that's like a big thing too, is like, just like any substance, like, see, pretty much psychedelics, like in themselves, like they're not addictive. They're just not. That's not how it works, and it's not how it operates in your brain. Things like opioids and stuff, those are different, and they have these more like addictive qualities to them.
Yep.
But every substance that you think about, like coffee is addictive, and that's a drug.
Oh yeah,
cigarettes and nicotine are addictive. That's a drug
but
too.
The problem is too, they're regulated by big industry, because the fact is they make money off it. So but,
and that's what we're trying to do, is like I think what a lot of people that are in this, like, in this movement now are pushing, like a lot of states now have decriminalized a lot of these substances. So like that's kind of a move in the right direction, but like, and the big like universities like Johns Hopkins or stuff, they're like conducting a lot of this research for using these substances in controlled settings for like psychotherapy and stuff like that. So like once it becomes like a thing that is able to be used, like if you can use your insurance that you have to go get treatment, and they like give you ketamine to help you treat depression, like you're not going to want to just get it off the street, because it's paid for like by your insurance company. So, and then you're feeling a lot better. So then you don't have to hide from the stressors in life. You can deal with those things, which is what usually leads to addiction of different substances, is that these people like most people, even myself included, like, I mean, I got hooked on pain medication and that was prescription, like, and anytime I wanted more, I just asked the doctor. I'm like, hey doc, I'm in pain, because I had 2 lower back surgeries, and 2 herniated discs in my lower spine. And I was in so much pain from the sciatica and stuff. Like, they just kept pushing these pain pills. And I think they are 100 times worse than marijuana, like, and a bunch of other substances.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, but I totally 100% agree. I really do. So,
but yeah, I'm glad at least that the research is being done again. Like, that we've missed out on 40 plus years of research that could have been done, and we could be in a completely different place than we are right now if the war on drugs never would have taken place.
So folks, you hear Matt right here. Make sure you go out and vote, and not just vote for who you like and everything. See what their policies are, because you never know. So that tells you right there. So,
yep. Participate in your local community and see what they got going on and what your like state representatives, all that. Like, it starts with your local community, and then it just builds up from there to state and then federal government and stuff like. But it's a big machine, and there's some stuff out there that, it's going to be hard to change things, like, for a lot of different policies and different subjects and, all that stuff. We're in this weird closed society that, it's just, there's crazy stuff going on, man. It's like,
man.
Yeah. So, let's see, where are we at now? Okay, so
I don't know. We're just talking, but I'm loving it. So
yeah,
let's keep going. Let's keep going, man. Let's keep going. Keep going. Yeah. Keep going.
So I mean, yeah, I don't want to, like, keep taking over every show and talking about my drug habits, but like,
listen, it can be an eye opener for people. But let's talk about something. Let's talk about next time when I'm on here. I'll be, I'm going to be a regular guest on here. I think, maybe. I don't know, man. You might try to kick me off. You might think this guy may be too raw for me. So, I don't know. He's tweeting about, breasts and stuff and everything. So,
no, I've been wanting to get you on here. That's that's why I was asking you right away. I was like, man, I know he'd be down. Like,
listen, I'm down. I'm down. It's just the fact that listen, I was 6 months unemployed. And then trying to, actually, you could have caught me when I was unemployed last year because, I had a lot of time on my hands, thank you, Uncle Sam, for the extra money, but beside that, but also, had a lot of stuff going on. I'm in a big move right now. Got some other personal stuff I'm taking care of right now. But however, listen, I will be a regular guest on here, so, cool. Hey, I'm ready.
Awesome, man. Yeah, like I know I was trying to figure out like how long we've known each other, like kind of like this is the first time we've actually chatted, I think, and like in the real, but I've been following you for like, I think I actually gave you a shout out. I just remember this on when me and Rachel started our original podcast, the Planet Wormhole Planet, whatever, like that was like 3 years ago, I think.
Maybe and 3 years. I'm old. I'm a good.
It's been a while, right now. And I was like, that was so difficult. I was like going through a hard time then, but I was still trying to like put my game face on and try to have fun. But
you got to.
I got like moving. I was so like OCD that when developing the podcast, like I was using this crazy software, like trying to learn everything I could about it, and I would just spend so much time like trying to edit it, and it would like come out sounding like it sounded okay. It sounded about average, I would say, to like the majority of podcasts out there. But like, I'm like an audiophile, like I want it to sound as best, like as good as possible, like, and I think that's just like the musician in me is like, I want my recording to sound so crisp and clear and, like all this stuff. But,
so guys, you hear that Matt used to produce for Nickelback. So I'm Oh God. People hate me for that. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh man. I had a friend that used to like joke around about like I can't remember what his joke was, but his like the punchline was like, "Yeah, my favorite band is Nickelback," but there was something that led up to that, and then it was like a serious thing, and you're like, "What?" And then he's like, "Yeah, Nickelback," and then you're like, "Oh no, you gotta be shitting me," like.
Look at this photograph. Every time it makes me laugh. Let me tell you something. I hate that song because working in retail, that's all you hear,
Oh
over the
my
PA
god.
system through their BS radio system. So, now I think we were going to touch on retail on this episode, weren't we? And
Yeah,
mental
yeah,
health,
man.
retail,
Yeah,
mental
like
health.
retail, like is retail considered like the service industry, or is that
It's
like.
considered the service industry. Actually, they changed it. It was real funny because during the pandemic, uh, they kind of classify like retail workers as essential workers.
Hmm,
So that blew me kind of off guard. I'm like, wait a minute, I think the essential workers should be the ones working in the hospital and the ambulance and everything. But
yeah.
they did consider retail workers as essential workers. So yeah, that was a big thing. So yeah, service industry, I would say yeah, especially if you're out there stocking shelves, um, working
Yeah.
third shift in grocery wherever you're at, Kroger, Walmart, Meyer, stuff like that. Any retail store, you're pretty much a part of that service industry.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like part of the part of society that is keeping everything sustainable, like the daily life, like
Uh huh.
without these people, like um, the rest of things can't go on. Like my
No.
wife worked in a liquor store, and basically
Hey,
she.
that's a necessity. Trust me. When
Yeah.
Junior and little girl there drive you nuts, you want to pop over a bottle of wine and just say, "Hey, little run a house muck," and I'm
And
just
I'm
kidding.
sure
I'm sorry.
in that industry, like in that, where she was working, like they were busy, like
Yeah.
throughout the pandemic, because
Yeah.
if you're sitting at home and you're not going out anywhere because
Whoa,
the.
whoa, whoa, wait. So I think you missed a whole part there, Matt, because there were
Oh,
times this guy did a TikTok. I have to find the TikTok and post it on Twitter. Um, this guy said, "You're working at home, right?" And then he's like taking a jog and through the recycle bins, there's about 15, 20 bottles of wine right there, sitting there. And he's walking by, everybody's like beer cans and beer stuff and everything. And, you know, he was just laughing because people was like working from home and then drinking on the clock, because the fact that, they're trying to work and trying to handle, being a mom, being
oh,
a dad,
yeah,
do
yeah.
things like that. So, they use it to just say, hey, I'm gonna have myself a drink or 15, until I don't hear the kids. Um, it's unfortunate they do that, but hey, I don't listen. I understand. I really do because the way how my junior acts sometime, I almost hit that boy with a downright, Hadouken or uppercut or Shoryuken because, adolescence starting to kick in, you know. But back to the subject at hand, retail is one of those businesses that actually sustain, the industry. Not only that,
Yep.
fast food workers, excuse me,
Oh
fast food
yeah,
workers
yeah.
are, them as well. I think they're all grossly underpaid. I do make a
Absolutely.
side joke. I say,
Yeah.
until McDonald's can make a burger, right, then y'all can make $15 an hour. And honestly, I just joke about that when I say that. But, work at retail, work at any restaurant, I think if you're making multi-millions of dollars, you should be paying those employees like a living wage because I know those
Oh
kids
yeah,
out there,
yeah.
14, 50, getting tired of Sally, Karen, or whoever mad because their burger didn't get onions on there or it didn't get right because they have to go service like 50 other people that's waiting out there, and then they have service time to get done, and then they have to get to the next order because sometimes that stuff be confusing.
Yep.
I sound like I
Yep.
worked at Wendy's because I did work at Wendy's for about 2 years. So
Hmm.
that was like my first, actually 40 years old. That was my first fast food job. I never worked fast food before.
Hmm.
So, um,
I didn't
you know,
work fast food, but I worked at. Well, I mean, I guess it's basically fast food. I mean, that's what I
uh huh.
consider. But it was the St. Louis Bread Company, which is everywhere else outside of St. Louis. It's called Panera Bread, and Panera is like the most overrated, overpriced sandwich place, like you can imagine.
Panera
Like,
Bread is just expensive hospital food, but go on.
yeah, I mean, they have like, like 50 different kinds of like European bread and, all this stuff you can
Yeah.
get in their bakery, and they bake everything like usually in in the restaurant or whatever. Like the one that I worked at was in the St. Louis Galleria Mall, which was like, one of the most busy locations. There was like probably 50 locations across St. Louis. Like they were just popping up everywhere. But like, it was like insane, but like I loved working there. It was just like such a, yeah, you had like you said, you had the customers that said like I didn't want onions on this or something, but like you were, it just everybody they worked with, it was just like a fun environment because like they like seemed to hire all kinds of like cool people. It's like I'm like, and there's some people that are like, just I don't know, just I'm like the kind of person like when I was younger and worked there, like I got along with everybody, and I just liked having a steady job, but I could have gotten paid more, I think. Absolutely. But like, the work wasn't that difficult. And I think I had a different mindset back then because like back then I was like, you know, I had other friends and they worked fast food, but I was like, I don't want to work fast food because of all the like oil, like the fry, the what is it? The deep fryers and stuff.
It's
Like,
the deep fryer. It's a lot to go into working fast food.
I was like, I didn't want to be all greasy and oily, and like it just seemed gross to me. I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm like,
it's a tedious job. I hate
yeah,
to put it out. I mean, it seemed like it's easy, but to keep the customer happy, you got to make sure that the grease is always constantly clean. You got to make sure you clear it out. You got to make
yep,
sure you filter it because they do recycle that grease and sometimes add in more grease. So yeah,
yeah.
you will walk out sticky and slippery, and you probably better slide all the way home with all that grease on your shoes.
And it's weird because I say that, but like, I worked at the bread company, and that was actually after I was a dishwasher in a kind of upscale Italian restaurant in St. Louis. There's a place
Uh
called
huh.
the Hill, and this is a very like predominantly like Italian neighborhood, and there's a lot of Italian restaurants, and they're like very, like people come there in business suits like during the day for lunch rush, and they had like a banquet hall, and they would just have like hundreds of people like in the middle of the day. And I'm like a dishwasher, and it was like probably the grossest job I've ever had. Like you just you're constantly like soaking wet because the water's spraying
Uh huh.
everywhere. And like you're getting bus boys, they're like slamming these big tubs of dishes
Yeah.
at you with all the gross food and half-eaten lasagnas and
That
whatever.
bring back spaghetti warehouse just like
Man,
you never see anything disgusting until you have to pull like the sourdough bread out the one of the grease traps because it fell through. So you
oh
smell
man,
like old something and bread and sour. It's disgusting. And then here's the thing. So that was my first job. At 16, 15, 16, I was working at the spaghetti warehouse. I was a busser. And you did describe it about just trying to make sure, trying to get all that food, got to get the dishes cleaned off so the
yep,
dishwasher can make sure they clean it well because you don't want them washing dishes like 3 or 4 times,
yeah,
at a
slow down
time. Slow down
productivity.
productivity.
Those
So
cooks need those plates to put out that food, so you got to get that stuff
yeah,
done
so you got to
quick.
get it done quick, and then get to the tables. And
Hmm.
at that time, I was making what I think $5.75 an hour at the time. I was only
Hmm.
like what 15, 16 in like 97, 98 or 96, 98. So working at that minimum wage and also getting tips. I mean, I felt like I was balling. I was like a junior in high
Yeah,
school. I was playing basketball and I decided to help my mom and family pay bills. So I decided to get that first job, and then the feeling of getting that first paycheck was nice because not only that you got tips, you got that check, So that was like one of the things I loved, working. That was like my first
yeah,
experience as as a service retail worker.
yeah. Like when I got that job, is that I think the dishwasher thing was my first gig. Like before that, I did stuff like I did stuff on my own, like mowed lawns and stuff like that. Like just kind of on my own. Like took my parents' lawnmower and I walked around the neighborhood and got people on a regular schedule. And I'm like, I'll come back like next week or in 2 weeks, and you
See,
know,
see,
did
see you.
that.
Wait, where was this at?
St.
When you
Louis.
okay, so you never experienced Northwest Ohio when I was like 11, 12 years old. I always waited like the first 6-7 inches of snow, and I'll go put on like
Oh,
3 socks and like 2 coats, and I'll tell my grandfather, "Hey, granddaddy, I'll be right back." And I'm going throughout the neighborhood in sunglasses and like, "Hey, I
yep.
shovel your grass, shovel your not grass. Oh Jesus, shovel your grass. I shovel your sidewalk for
Your
like five
sidewalks,
bucks."
yeah, yeah.
And then he like, "Hey, I'll give you extra tip. He show my driveway." Oh, sweet. So
Those
doing that and
driveways were
everything.
hard, man. That
No,
stuff.
well, you only did it to like a certain part. I'm not shoveling like a whole driveway for like ten
I
dollars. I
did,
was not
man.
doing that.
I
I
was
was
like,
not. I was
this
see.
sucks.
I'm not doing that because I was smart playing basketball. I'm not gonna throw my back out just because I was shoveling,
Yeah,
Billy Bob's, backyard because the fact is he couldn't do it or his son was too lazy to do it. So, I was not gonna do that. So I was like, I get your sidewalk, I get up to your house, and that's it. You got a snowblower, you get the rest of it. So, but that was
yeah,
like my first hustle, doing that, and then um, at a time, I had to focus on school, focus on basketball, and I think it was at a point where I need to step in to help out, pay bills. Unfortunately, that's a choice that I made, and I'm saying goodbye to that choice. I think I just learned my work ethic from that. But working at the spaghetti warehouse, that was like one of my first jobs. Just being able to just help people make sure that service is top notch, and
yeah.
um,
You
I
learn a
didn't
lot
really
from that kind of stuff. Yeah,
you
definitely.
do learn a lot. You do learn a lot. You meet some cool people. I think at the time, working there, I was like 16. You meet people in their 40s and learn about what they did in high school, how they hustled, and what stuff they've been through. And what's real funny when you actually sit down and listen. It's
Yep,
some of the stuff they've been through is actually what you're going through. So it's
yep.
a lot of just listening and sitting down to understand. Hey, you know what? Life ain't that bad, or this is what they did to help themselves get through. So, for those that's
Yeah,
out there that's maybe on their first job, 16, 17, 18, if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you listen to the older people because they go through the same stuff you went through. And
yep,
it's not the fact that, they're nagging you, the fact that they know what you've been through and they know what's going and what's going to happen. They sat back and saw the consequences. They saw, whatever what they
yep.
did, the blessing they got from that. But take time to work
Well,
those jobs and listen to those people.
yeah, and that's like my son was talking about. He's 15, and he's we're in a really small town right now because I like haven't lived in the city in forever. But like the only place you can work around here that's fast food, we have a McDonald's, a Subway, a Sonic, and a Pizza Hut. And but there's a few other like regular like different like regular walk-in sit down restaurants kind of thing. But like he's talking about getting a job at McDonald's, and I'm like, yeah, dude, go for it, because they're actually I don't know what they're paying right now, but like it's not too bad. Like I'm
It
like
could be
if you're a
certain. It
15
could
year old,
be. It could be certain places. I don't know what McDonald's start here. I know they're starting at $11 an hour, but
mm.
you know,
But when you're
I
15, like you were saying, like I was probably making like 475, I think, at my first job, and like once I got that paycheck, like at the end of the week, like I felt like I was rich. Like I went straight to the comic book store and was like, I can get whatever I want. Like all my
oh
favorite
man,
comics. Like
let me tell you something. Like be able to buy your own. Listen, it's my
yeah,
fourth or fifth paycheck, and the Nintendo 64 was coming out. I bet you, damn it, I went out to South Big Mall and bought myself a Nintendo 64 and played the hell out of damn Super Mario 64. So that was like my first big purchase. And I felt so, and that started a trend I'm still dealing with right now, is just basically spending money on video games. However, I'm a grown man. I can do what I want to do. So, haha. Anyway, so being able like to be 16 and, save your money and say, I'm going to buy that Nintendo 64 and
yeah,
bought it and played the hell out of it. And listen, you just don't know how it felt just buying your first big purchase, and then finding
yep,
out when you're adult, you got a lot of big purchases you have to buy, and that's not just stuff you like buying. It could be
yep.
just a car you had to get, or maybe a furnace that went out on Christmas Day. So you never know what you
Yep.
have to buy, and what life's going to throw at you.
That's true, man. Well, hey, we're coming up. We're actually a little bit past the time, but like we're gonna take a break real quick, and then we'll come back and continue some of this cool conversation, man. I really appreciate you being on here, man. So
SoopaMannieB, baby.
yeah. So
The
everybody,
next half, what we gonna do next half? Get on video games and have some laughs.
yeah, we got some. I got some cool ideas here. We'll try it out and see how it works.
Okay.
It It'll be all right. So,
All right.
everybody, stay tuned. Be right back.
All right.
You're listening to the Wormhole Manifest podcast. If you like what you hear, then tune in wherever you get your podcast. Anchor, Spotify, Google, iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Addicts, and many more. And please like and follow our posts on social media. On Twitter, we are at WormFestPod. On Instagram, we are Wormhole_Manifest. If you'd like to hear more about these topics, send us an email and I'll send you the pertinent information at wormholemanifest@gmail.com. And if you'd like to start your own podcast, check out anchor.fm, where you'll get started creating your own podcast for free. Thanks. See you later. You're back on the Wormhole Manifest podcast. Hey, everyone. I'm here chatting with Mannie, and we were just talking about some video game stuff before that. Before the break, we were going over some of the our past employment history. That's always a good topic, and and you learn a lot from all those different career changes and different jobs and stuff. You learn a lot, and it's just a path of life. But we're gonna, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, we're gonna be doing like a few different things, trying out as the podcast is new. One of the things I was going to, let's see, were we in the middle of talking about something when we dropped off? I'm trying to remember now.
Listen, I got myself a glass of white cranberry juice.
Wow.
This podcast is sponsored by Ocean Spray Pink Cranberry. It's not cranberry unless it's pink.
I'll have to get you on here to do some of my commercials when I start getting sponsored.
Listen, I need that. I need that money. That commercial. I got that commercial voice going on. Hell, I could be on The Price is Right now.
Hell yeah, man. And I'm just learning how to speak again, because I spent like a couple of years like talking to my wife and my kids, but like very little like interaction socially outside of the home. But I was like, man, I can type all day, like I can be in like Discord groups and like talking about whatever, like I can just go on, but it's like my mind can process it and I can type things out. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I didn't want to say it like that because I might sound like a dick. So, backspace. And then, yeah, this sounds a lot better, like it's more tactful, like I want to get along with everybody. But like in real life, when you're just like standing on the street corner talking to somebody you never met before, it's like, I'd just be like, okay, I got to go,
like awkward.
Don't know what to say. But,
my background goes way back. It may sound like I've done radio before. I haven't. So no, never. But you want to hire me, somebody out there, we negotiate salaries. Anyway, so, growing up in the church, God bless my grandfather, that man was a man, raising me. But, he would put me in unfortunate circumstances where like, hey, read 1 John chapter 5, verse 1, to stand up. And then I would talk, and then I get pulled to the side like, hey, there's no slang in here. You didn't pronounce your words. Oh, okay. I'm supposed to say this? Say the word. So, learning how to talk and just trying to have, people understand me. That was like one of my goals in, growing up, because going to speech therapy, at a young age, and talking so fast. So you'd have to like learn how to talk slow and slow down. Because I will do it sometimes anyway. That's just my nature. Um,
Yeah. And I think
but
everybody has different ways of communication depending on like what their background
oh yeah,
is or
most
where they come
definitely.
from, like and it also has to do with like what you're exposed to even as an adult. Like I said, I had like 20 years military, so like you learn how to speak a certain way around, you only say certain things to like your superiors, and then like supposedly like what I think a lot of people that got like up into the middle ranks, like they thought they had some power but they weren't as powerful as the guy above them,
Hmm.
so they treat everybody below them like shit. They're like, you need to fucking get over there and do this, and I saw this and I saw them behaving this way. And I'm like, that's not me. So anytime we would get new like privates, that were just right out of boot camp and like stuff, I would like kind of, the other guys were being assholes to them, but like I would take them out on a job with me. And I'm like, hey man, just do your best to speak how they want you to speak to them. I said, but you can tell me whatever you want to tell me. I'm not going to fucking tell them anything. Like, and I was like their superior, but like I wasn't going to treat them like shit because I remembered how it was for me when I first came in and these assholes treated me that way. And
Uh
I'm
huh.
like, I'm not going to be that guy. Like, I'm not like a leader. I'm not like this crazy gung ho person. Like, I don't believe in this whole thing. Like, I'm just in here to do my thing, learn, basically just to get by. I wanted to get out like as soon as I got in. Like my second day in boot camp, I was like, I don't want to be here, like, and I'm like, this really isn't for me. But like I conformed and I got through it and I like stuck with it because I saw the benefits that are
Yeah.
like the underlying benefits of the big picture stuff, but like,
Okay.
like there was a lot of crap you had to deal with. And what I consider it, the way I went through my military career was I was in stealth mode. Like, and it's kind of funny because I ended up, my last job that I worked on, I ended up working on the B-2 stealth bomber. And so it kind of is like ironic, I'm like, I was in stealth mode my entire military career. And then I end up working on a stealth. It's like, but like I figure out I was in stealth mode because I just put my hat on, like everybody has their own hat for their job. Like that, in a way it's like a mask. You're putting this mask on and pretending to be a certain way to get through the day. And that's what I did every single day. Like every time I went to work, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, time to put on this mask and be who I got to be to get through the day. And then when I go home, and I think a lot of that is probably why I turned into an alcoholic, because like that stuff gets built up in you and there's no way to like let off steam, because you're not, these other assholes that are yelling at all the subordinates and stuff, they get off on that, but like I wasn't doing that. So like I went home and I'm like, I'm just going to drink. And I'm like, and play video games and watch anime and do my stuff that,
Hey, nothing wrong to playing video games and watching anime.
yeah, I mean,
Now,
that's like, that's who I am,
yeah.
like, and I knew that
We
before I
we we
even went
don't we didn't
in.
want to people think that watching anime and playing video games is
No,
terrible.
but like, and it's funny now because now there's
I
like
was just
in the
thinking.
military, they're
Uh,
promoting people like doing like esports and stuff like that. Like they're telling, like in the Air Force, they're like, you know, it's like a good thing to have these side activities, like, and but back when I was in the early days, it was all like you're either into sports or working out at the gym or
hey,
reading the Bible.
Matt. So Matt, whoa. Let's say let's get this straight. I read the Bible. I did my video games and I did sports. So I was multitasking, as a
Yeah.
teenager. So I would sit there and I'll go and play basketball, play a game, and then the next day you're looking for me. I'm in the basement, somebody playing Dungeons and Dragons or playing Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
So, um, hey, you can multitask out there, people. Yes,
Yeah,
it can do it.
you
You
can
can
do
do it.
whatever you want,
You can
like,
do it.
and like I'm just saying that like in like the military, there's a lot more. It seems like the majority of people. It's kind of like when you're in high school. by the way, I never went to high school, so I skipped that part of my life and kind of missed out on a lot of stuff.
Oh,
But
okay.
there's people that, like, the people in the military. There's a lot of them, these gung ho guys, these meatheads that, like, it's kind of like the bullies in school, like in high school, that
Yeah.
like they bully the nerds and all that stuff. There's like the jocks, and there's the, it's kind of like an 80s movie or something, they're still living in that, but like now it's so, it's so open, like you can be into whatever you want to be into as long as you're getting the job done, but there's still those people every once in a while that are like, they get some rank and then they think that they have all the power, and they just, but I think those people are just naturally, they gravitate to being an asshole. So it's like, don't be an asshole. That's the main, that's the moral of the story.
Yeah.
Even if you join the military, be nice to people. Don't be a dick, and everyone will get along, and you'll actually find out that people below you will do a better job if they're not being treated like shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
it's like basically, that's for another day. That's for another day. We're not going to talk about that. So,
yeah.
So, I was looking about some video games, and we were talking about video games, and let me tell you, being a huge Nintendo fan, with the Nintendo Direct just dropping, they got a 3D Kirby coming out. They announced that they're going to have Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis on Nintendo Online, which is very exciting. I know a lot of you don't want to play some of the games because of the fact that, Nintendo's always bringing this stuff out, or Sega's bringing this stuff out. And let me tell you something. I don't care what y'all think. I'm ready to play Sonic and Knuckles on my Switch. No, I take that back. Sonic 3 and Knuckles on my Switch. So y'all can complain all you want to. I try to avoid all the negativity on Twitter because all the little fanboys that were pretty much 21 and grown up because they had to basically, put their PlayStation 2 upside down to play their disc because it was so scratched up and everything. I don't care for your opinion. I'm ready. I am ready. Like Reggie said, my body is ready, and my body is ready for this. So, and also, for my Animal Crossing fans out there, they're bringing Brewster and the cafe to Animal Crossing. So they have a direct. I don't know if it was a direct or they got more announcements coming up, but let me tell you something. I'm ready. Also, I think we touched on this. They got a Super Mario Brothers movie coming out.
Yeah.
And they got Chris Pratt is playing Mario. Seth Rogen playing Donkey Kong. And then Jack Black playing, Bowser.
That's like an all-star cast, man.
That's an
like
all-star cast. You can't beat that. I mean, I know. Let me tell you something. People are mad because it's Chris Pratt. I understand the stuff he said or whatever. Y'all feel like that's him. That's your opinion. I'm not going to change your opinion. However, listen, the Mario movie had back when I was growing up was terrible. If you love that movie, you need to seek therapy. I got some
I think
questions.
I saw that in the theater, actually.
Listen, there's a few things I saw in theaters. I want my money back and I want my 2 hours back. And one of them was Dragon Ball Evolution. So.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh, yeah. So we don't speak on that. Our Dragon Ball Z anime fans, we don't speak of that. That was terrible. Anyway. But going back to this Mario movie, I'm just ready and excited to see how it comes out. Being that's coming out, as far as, live, they call it CG live or something, what they call that, the animation. They use the same animation as like Sonic Hedgehog, except I'm pretty sure it'll be more of a cartoon world. I know they're made by the company that make Minions. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You can tweet me, ask SoopaMannieB if I'm wrong. However,
who made Minions? Was that like DreamWorks or was it?
I think it's DreamWorks. I think it's DreamWorks Illumination, something like that. So, but guys, before you judge, everybody still got PTSD when they first did the Sonic movie and see how he looked like Sonic was on meth. But
I haven't even seen Sonic. Is that the one with Jim Carrey?
But I see, Matt. See, it's one of those things I tell you need to be on Twitter to see this. When Sonic first came out, they did a whole design where his eyes were like beady, and it was his fur was terrible, and it was supposed to come out on Valentine's Day of last. It was like last year or the year before last, one of those years. When I'm up against bullying. I hate bullying and everything. I hate what it stands for, but the way how Twitter worked and they bullied the studio plus Sega, like, hey, you gotta change this. This is what Sonic look like. This is what Sonic's supposed to look like. And then they basically had to go back and redo all the shake and everything and all the redesign for Sonic. And it came out. And it was a great movie. And they got part two come out with Sonic and Knuckles, or Tails and Knuckles, and Idris Elba. You
Hmm.
know, Mr. Idris Elba. He's
I'm
playing.
gonna have to check that out
Knuckles.
pretty soon.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I've been
oh
wanting
yeah.
to. Like I have it, but I haven't like had a chance really to check it out. It's like kind of hard to get the opportunity to check out like even
Matt,
like newer
I'm gonna give you
movies,
some
but
homework.
like
I'm gonna give you some homework. By next week, when I come back on here, I need you to watch Sonic the Hedgehog. We're gonna talk about it, and that's your homework. And you either watch it, you pass. If you don't, you fail. Because I'm about to talk to you. I'm about to talk to your parents because you failed the assignment, sir. You had one assignment just to watch the movie. You just have to sit down for 2 hours, grab some popcorn, grab a burger, grab whatever. Sit down and watch some Sonic the Hedgehog and watch the glory of what they did with that movie. And by the way, also Jim Carrey did an excellent job with Dr. Eggman. I don't care what people have to say. You know, he did an excellent job.
yeah, I've always been a fan of him though. Like some people don't like some of his like comedy and stuff, and they say like, well, he is pretty good when he gets like serious, and I like it. I like him because he has a range. Like he just everything he's in, he's different, but yet they say he's like this acts the same in all his movies, and I'm like, that's not true. He's a really good actor. Like he can portray. I mean, like, one of my favorite movies with him is Cable Guy because he plays a psycho like so well, like, but it's not. It's very different than Ace Ventura, for instance. But
Man, wait,
like,
wait. He played Edward Nigma on Batman. One of the most insane people in the
oh yeah,
in the DC verse. So he did a good job for what it was.
yeah.
Played Edward Nigma, but just the part he did was really good. Um, but I mean, Jim Carrey can play a range of stuff. He can play some serious movies to where that he has a serious part. But when he gets his mind into something. I mean, we've seen it with the Grinch. We knew that when he
Oh
did the
yeah,
Grinch,
yeah.
he was gonna play the hell out of it.
We
You
watch that
know,
like every Christmas. Like it, like we'll put on like I can't remember what if we made a holiday. I think I made a holiday movie channel on my Plex server and put a
uh,
bunch of movies in it so we can stream. When the time comes, like just have a bunch of movies that we stream on like Halloween and
see,
Thanksgiving and Christmas.
I'm more of a see. I was born in I'm an '80s baby. When I say that, I was born on the cusp of the '70s into the '80s.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like holidays, I prefer the cartoons. So that's a lot hard to
Oh
say.
yeah, yeah.
So
I show my kids like all I like the Charlie Brown stuff and
yeah,
the Charlie Brown Christmas or the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. Like we watch that
uh
like every year.
huh. But yeah, so but anyway, back to video games. I know Nintendo's trying their best to um be out there, be competitive. Technically they're not trying to be competitive. They're trying to go along with the Xboxes and the PlayStations.
Yeah.
Um, so I think
But
for what they're
they have like
doing,
there's a lot of games that seem they're not like cross play or cross platform, but like it seems like the Switch has a lot of the games that I've been looking at for like the PS4. Like, a lot of because I basically collect all these games that are like anime based or like they're
yeah,
RPGs that have the anime artwork or anime
uh-huh,
story cutscenes and all that. Like anime style characters, drawn characters or whatever. But
yeah,
like I've got like a ton of like PS3 games and PS2
uh-huh.
and PS4. But like a lot of the ones I want on PS4, they seem to come out also on the Switch, but they're like $20 more. So I'm like, oh
See
man, like
what you have. See you're not going to find PlayStation exclusives on the Switch. You're not going to find that. Let's get that. So I think when you have a Switch game that was put on the PS4, um, it's more of a definitive version of the game, where it's the game plus the DLC. So that's not basic on Nintendo as far as licensing, and I'll be honest with you, I think Nintendo has to blame themselves for that, and mainly because when they even though they focus on the Wii and other game systems, that was pretty much just for younger crowd. They kind of shunned away the ones that were giving the most, and that was us.
Yeah.
So I know they get back in the swing of things of trying to get all this licensing on Nintendo, but you probably won't see a big thing until the next generation system. So we don't know when that's going to happen. So
yeah, because they just released, like, my son was just talking about the he calls it the OLED. I call it the OLED
switch. Yeah, the OLED OLED switch that's coming out. Which I know they're supposed to announce the price drop. That's gonna be the hottest Christmas gift out there. So if you got it out there, if you get it, hold on to it. And please don't be one of these people who want to buy like 4 or 5 and sell it for
Oh man, yeah,
triple the amount. That. So, but with that being said, you're going to see a lot of ports that you usually see on PlayStation 4 coming out. Like they're coming out with Dragon Ball Kakarot. That was on the PlayStation 4 that came out sometime last year. They bring it out for the Switch into the fall this year with all the DLC and everything. And that's just, the company trying to gain sales and basically trying to figure a way to get the game on the Switch. Like I said, I could be wrong. Anybody can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm all about just, understanding and gaining knowledge about that. But if you want like good RPGs, and that's one of the Switch advantages is that they're region free. So you can always buy a game that's in Japan.
Oh, like an import.
Import, yeah. Yep. Importing still has a big play in America. If people don't know that, some people don't know that, some people do. So when they come to like play Asia or trying to find something to import, they go on their website to import it. They bring it here, especially with the Switch now. You can actually import some games here, and they have the English option where you can actually text any Japanese language into English. But who wants that? Who wants to keep that? Just go with Japanese subtitles. That's where you get the best, entertainment out of that.
Yeah.
So
I'm a big subtitles fan, but like in the past couple years, like I used to watch anime, like in general, always in the original Japanese language.
Yeah.
And with subtitles because, and for me, it was because of the translation. Yeah. Like you get the full story when you do it like that. And when they dub it in English, they cut out so much so that they can change the translation slightly so that so that the English words will match the mouth flaps. Like when the mouths move, they want to match that, so they rewrite it just to where it's slightly different, but mostly the same, but it still makes sense. And then some things they'll change references. Like if in the original version, they reference something that most Japanese people would know or understand, like even if it's like a local thing or a product or a place or something, or like a TV show, like in the English version, dubbed version, they'll change it to be something more of like an American pop culture reference, so that we'll get it like that, but they've been doing a really good job, I think, lately. Plus I'm like, I can't see, even though I have like a 70-inch TV, like if my glasses are off, I can't see the TV, even though it's only like 4.5 feet away from me. Like the TV is so blurry. So I have to wear it with glasses. And I'm like, but if I want to just sit back and kind of watch it with, I can kind of see it. I won't be able to read the subtitles without the glasses. So I just go ahead and make it easy on myself and watch it with the English dub. The problem with Netflix, and I got to point this out, is that when you're watching something dubbed in English with the captions on, it will show you the real translation from the Japanese language. So if you're reading it, it's not going to be the same as what they're saying.
Okay.
and that throws me off. Like, I don't like that. Like, it's
Huh.
like I'm watching two separate stories take place at the same time, and then I got
Yeah.
to pick and choose which one I like better. I either want to hear it one way or read it the other way. I'm like, I don't want to do
Oh
two
man.
things at the same time, two stories,
Uh-huh.
even though they're the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, like with like games and like imports and stuff like that, I think I have one or two like PS2 or PS3 imports,
Uh-huh.
but that was, I think, a pure like collecting kind of like a collector value kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I had no intention of playing it. There's been a few games that I've read about that came out in Japan that are not even going to be available here that I thought looked cool.
Uh-huh.
That are just never going to be available for whatever reason. And I'm like, that sucks, man. I really want to play that. And I've looked to buy it, but it's all in Japanese with no English translation. So I'm like, if I get it, I'm not even going to, like, I tried to learn Japanese like over
Uh-huh.
the years, but like only know a few words here and there. So it's
Yeah.
like, I can't like, I wouldn't be able to do it, which sucks. But anyway,
Yeah.
like you know, what, like, what's your favorite system overall?
Overall, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna throw this out. The GameCube was my favorite system.
Okay. Yeah, like
Um,
I haven't played the GameCube as much as I would have liked. It kind of came out a little later for me. I think I'm a little older than you. Like, so
uh-huh.
I, when it came out, I was still playing PS2, I think.
Yeah. Now,
And
now, now, let me rephrase that because I did have the PS2. I did have the Xbox. Um, so, um, at the time when Nintendo had the GameCube, PlayStation 2 and the Xbox were pretty much dominating the market. Then the Xbox 360 came out.
yeah,
That was coming out dominating, but it was Nintendo. Um, that I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy myself a GameCube because I haven't had a Nintendo system in so long, and I was looking at games like Super Mario
yeah,
Sunshine, and then I was looking like, oh, they came out with Legend of Zelda. I think what
yeah,
basically got me was I think Nintendo did a promotion where the GameCube was like $98. You got two free games, and then I had the Legend of Zelda. Um, it was like the what you call it, the triple pack or something like that, where it's like basically you got I think it was four swords. Maybe quote me wrong. It was either the Master Quest. It was like all the Zeldas plus Ocarina of Time plus Master Quest Ocarina of Time. So it was like other games that pretty much
yeah. And Wind Waker, I think, was,
Wind
or
Waker. So well, that's the whole
yeah,
story. Wind Waker was like the holding piece where I said, "Fuck this! I'm selling my PS2. I don't need this no more." So I'm not sitting there and play Jackson Dexter all damn day. Fuck, I'm gonna play Zelda. So it was one of those things where that was a hunch. It was on sale for $29. So I'm gonna play this Ocarina of Time, and I think that was beginning of the end because
hmm.
I was playing that game until like till 3 o'clock in the morning, and just trying to find the last piece of the Triforce. So I spent a lot of hours on that GameCube, especially just playing with folks and playing with family and
Yeah,
I think it was like playing like the Mario parties and Mario Kart Double Dash. So
mm-hmm.
like those games that would have you like playing just playing hours of repetitive play. That was a big thing to me. So even though I had my Xbox and I was playing Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and I had my PC playing WoW, Classic and other stuff, I still had that whole where I was like, I'm gonna play, this, I'm gonna play that, and my GameCube collection, grew, you know,
Yeah.
and
Do you still
um,
have it?
I don't have my
Oh man.
GameCube, but I still got the games for it. I
Oh,
think I just
cool.
sold my
Okay.
Luigi's Mansion, which I'm kind of mad I sold that game. I have to get that game back.
So you don't have the
Um,
system,
I don't have the
but
system.
you
See,
but you have the games. That's
I have the
cool.
games. I have the games.
I should just send you one of my spare ones because like I got on a kick for a while, like 15 years ago maybe, and like
Uh huh.
started buying systems like
Yeah.
and reselling them on eBay. And at
Uh
the
huh.
time, the Game Cubes were hot. Like you could sell a lot of like you could place on eBay like a lot of 5 or 6 games
Yeah.
and get like, like I was making bank on that stuff. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, and that's how I ended up getting, because I didn't play the GameCube. I played it a couple times that friends had, but I ended up getting the Wii when the Wii came out. And
Yeah.
that was my first new system,
Uh-huh.
probably in 10 years. Cause I kind
Yeah,
of got
so speaking
out
about
of
that,
gaming.
how hard was it to get the Wii when it first came out? Because it seemed like everybody and their mama
Um,
wanted a Wii, and I had to wait till like
yeah,
9 months of the week after the Wii came out to finally get one.
Yeah, I got pretty lucky at the time because I was living on the East Coast in Maryland, and I had called around to a bunch of places, and this one place, I think it was a GameStop. No, yeah, I think it was a GameStop, and I had to drive like an hour and a half away to go to this place because I lived kind of in a remote area where there was like a base that did like we did like a flight test stuff,
Uh
like
huh.
for the military and all that, but
Hmm.
like I called around to the one town that was not too far, and I was like, "Are you guys getting the Wii? And how much is it and all that stuff?" And they're like, "Well, we're not supposed to tell anybody this, but we're getting like we have like so many on pre-order, but we ordered extra. Like we're getting 5 more, and we haven't told anybody. So like I don't know how I got lucky, but I ended up getting one and I had to drive a ways to go get it. But I got it and I was like, this is cool, like it's because I'd read a lot about it and I was like, this is very different than any other system that's come out. That, and I really wanted to play Animal Crossing
You know
and
what? I
golf.
didn't get to Animal Crossing till um, the Wii version came out,
I
and
had friends that were into it from the Game Boy Advance, I think it
uh huh.
was, like that version. So
It
I
was
had
the Game Boy Advance version. Was kind of like it was almost into the realm of 3D with that game,
yeah.
and like I said, I tried that game out because I was like, I'm gonna because it was a lot of like data transferring stuff that you could do with Animal Crossing, Wild World, and City Folks. But
Yeah.
I found myself, laid on my recliner, it's 4 o'clock in the morning fishing, to my heart's
Yeah.
content, and I'm like, this is dangerous. I need to go to bed. I got to be working like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just the music is really low key. It was not
Yeah.
really like hardcore where you got to beat the boss. Anyway,
Yeah.
you should listen to.
Yeah. It's very like subtle and kind of like, it's
Yeah.
peaceful, like,
It's like, oh man, oh look, there's a spider. I'm gonna catch it. I
yeah.
got bit. Oh man, I'm back at home. Let me get my fishing
Yeah.
pole and let me fish for about 6 7 hours, and
Let me
then
shake some trees while
let
I'm
me
on
shake some trees. Let me
it.
go sell some fruit. Let me go visit somebody else's town, and then fish at their town. And they sit there talking. And then at the time, Nintendo had a mic that came with it too, and that was like the worst thing. It was just like talking to people and sitting and talking and fishing and next thing you know, I have to go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's 4 o'clock. What time is it? 4 o'clock. What time you got to be at work? I gotta be at work at 9 o'clock in the morning, so I'm gonna get some sleep. And then next, you're sitting there dreaming about fish. You got Animal Crossing. Like, I need to get off this game. You
Yeah.
know. So,
Yeah, and
um,
it was weird for me because like it was around that time. Like I said, I hadn't really I kind of got out of games. Like I was really big into it when I was younger, and then I had before I went into the military, I had just bought the PlayStation because it had just came out. But before that, I had a Sega Genesis CD, and that was my prior system. That was the last system that I bought, and I bought that used from a friend, and it was already a couple years old. So, but I wanted to play one of these RPG games on it, so I played the hell out of that game, and then I got the PlayStation, and I fell in love with that. And then I basically stopped playing. Like I kind of played the PlayStation a little bit, and then I got the PS2 when it came out, but I wasn't like buying a bunch of systems and a bunch of different games, like because I was, I was busy in the military and I was partying all the time. And like, I was like, and I was going to school, so like I was just like, had no time. It felt like to play games. But then all of a sudden something clicked when I got the Wii. And then I'm like, man, I need to go back because I totally missed out on the GameCube, and I bought one, and I basically started building up a collection of games. Like I got all the Resident Evils, because they seemed like they were better on the GameCube version versus the PlayStation, but they were like 10 times harder. Like on the PlayStation version of Resident Evil, I think it was Resident Evil 2, you would shoot a zombie like once or twice and it would be down. But on the GameCube, you got to like unload the clip, like it was like difficult.
I think what it was, like for those who don't know out there, Japanese gamers are hardcore, and they pretty much make the games easier for us because, we suck.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
No, but for real, I think there's a level of difficulty when you get like ports like that comes straight from Japan, where that the hard mode is the normal mode, and you're like, what the hell? Like, I'm at this point right now. I'm 42 years old. I'm playing everything on easy mode because I'm not grinding like I used to.
Yeah,
that's just Zelda. I'm still trying to beat Breath of the Wild. And I got my younger coworkers are like 24, 25. Yeah, I beat Breath of the Wild 3 times. I'm like, good for you, motherfucker. I don't care. I'm gonna sit back and work and go to sleep if I feel like it. So
yeah.
But
I'm still not like a heavy gamer, like not at all like how I was when I was like before the military. But I'm trying to get more into it.
I have always been a gamer. That was like one of the things that has like hooked on to me since I was maybe 5 years old playing Atari. So you go from there to Nintendo, and then my Uncle Alan would just say, "Hey, come over, let's play some Sega." And then you got this Sega Genesis. He's like, "Man, this is 16-bit graphics compared to this Nintendo 8 graphics. What am I doing?" And then next thing you know, you go from playing with your Sega for like 6-7 years, and I had the Super Nintendo at the time. And then I said, I want to get myself a 64. So now you're playing, hey, I got 64 graphics. Then you look like, oh, PlayStation. And I didn't jump on the PlayStation, but like everybody else did. Because it was so many issues I was hearing about people having, with the PlayStation, where the disc wasn't reading, the disc would load like 6-7 hours. And I didn't jump on that train. I didn't jump on the CD train until when the Xbox came out, because there was a time, like you, I think I stopped for about a half a year because I was like maybe just playing video games just to. No, I didn't. No, I had the Sega Dreamcast. So I had the Nintendo 64. I had the Sega Dreamcast. Man, see, that's the part of getting old, kids. You forget about parts of your life.
I just got a Dreamcast too, like a couple years ago.
Man,
like,
let me tell you something.
Like a friend of mine was like, or actually, it was a customer in my shop. I was selling PS3s that I had sitting for a couple months, and he came in and it was like, "Hey man, like I've got a Sega Dreamcast. If you want to trade for one of these PS3s," and I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." Like there was no question, because I'm a collector like that. Like I just want to have these retro systems that I can pull out at any time. One of these days I want to like set up like a finished basement, with like all the video game systems, and like have a really cool like master setup with like all the classic games and new stuff too.
So with that being said, like like I said, I totally forgot I got a Sega Genesis, and that's not Sega Genesis, but Sega Dreamcast. And that was like one of the first systems, I mean, that I played that had online gaming. You had to get like that 24K dial-up internet.
Oh yeah,
like $100 back then.
Like a modem or something like that.
Actually, the Sega Dreamcast had a modem with it already. You just had to hook it up to the phone line, so you can
set
the network there. You can actually.
Well, they had a port. The original PS2s had like a empty slot in the back that you were supposedly
it was like $100 for that damn modem.
I never even seen it. Like it was never like really available anywhere I looked. It
was available in like retailers. See, that's when I worked at Meyer. My early 20s, going to college, working at Meyer, part time and all that yada yada stuff. So you'll sit there and work in the sport. See, I worked in the toy and sporting goods department, so that was like, oh yay basketball, but yay video games. Ooh, I want to stock this. I want to get this game. I'm going to get this game. And Next thing you get your paycheck, you spend like $150 on video games that you pretty much haven't even unwrapped yet. Trying to get up to your game log, which I'm still dealing with that now. You know, so yeah, so like when you saw that modem, you're like, oh, okay, you have the PlayStation Network, but wait, I'm not buying $100 for that modem. I'm not doing that. No.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and then when the GameCube came out, it had the modem, but the gaming online was very limited. You know,
Yeah.
and that's why when I got my Xbox and it had like the free, I don't know if it was free, you had to pay Xbox Live so much money for that. Um, that's when I started jumping on more into, disc-based games. Then
Mm.
Nintendo start, jumping on board with disc-based games now. So, but yeah, I've had pretty much every game system that actually came out, excluding the PlayStation 1, um, the Neo Geo and all the other third-party stuff. And for
Yeah.
those that know about Neo Geo, you looked at those EGM magazines, those video game magazines, they had like
Yeah.
the
I
whole
remember those.
catalog. And you're like, I want to get myself a Neo Geo system. And I'm like, oh, that thing's $499. I'm like, you think I'm going to ask my grandfather for a $500 system? I'm going to get away with it,
Yeah.
And the ones I could afford, I was able to get. The ones I couldn't afford, I'm like, not have no experience with it. So, I
Yeah.
know my uncle. At a time, he had a 3DO system. That was like one
Mm.
of the systems that almost looked like arcade graphics, but it was way over expensive. Way over expensive. Just way. I remember going over to Elder Billman. That's the name you never heard before. And they had like their audio electronic section, and looking on the Neo Geo, like, man, I look like that's really nice. And then it's like $699. And I'm like, excuse me, I
Damn.
beg your pardon,
Yeah.
man. My
No, I
64 cost
couldn't
me
do that.
129. What you got to do? What do you have to do to get this 3DO system? Like, what do I have to do? Do I have to sell a soul? And the devil's like, do you want this 3DO system? I'm like, yes, give it to me, but no, I don't want it. Um, so get
Man.
back, like I said, I own pretty much every video game system pretty much out there. So right
Yeah.
now, I
And
currently have a PS4, Switch,
like I said, I've
Wii.
had them too, but I just
Yeah.
didn't have the Xbox. Like I never went that route. But like a lot of the systems that I have, I either had them when they came out, or I waited several years to and then went back and bought them,
Mm-hmm.
and then like basically just to have in the collection. But I played them a little bit here and there. But like as far as being a real gamer, and like I played all this stuff, but like my main system was the NES, and that like was my thing. Like every game that I played, I had to beat it. Like that was what it like, but like now games are like they don't end. Like
Yeah.
games don't ever end. Like it's hard to play a game now that you want to just get through, like to
Mm-hmm.
reach your goal, but like a lot of them are just like endless, like uh tournament battles and stuff, like, but I don't know. We're gonna have to wrap up though. We're
Oh,
coming
we
up
got
on.
to. We got to. I'm just getting started, man. I guess I'll be on next week. I don't know. I don't know what your plans are. So, but
Well,
I
I
will
want to
be.
rotate it up. I actually have some people scheduled, and like I want to keep you like this is pretty good. I like this, and I like I want to have like a good variety in the podcast where like we can talk about games and anime
Yeah.
and whatever else we want to talk about, because this is pretty easy and free flowing. Some of the
Mm-hmm.
other ones, like the first two episodes, like I was stumbling up quite a bit because I was trying to do like an interview style, like
Yeah.
with the guest, and like trying to get important information out, which an hour is not really enough time. And I had somebody ask if I could keep the episode shorter because they were zoning out after like 45 minutes. And I'm like, most podcasts I've ever listened to were like 2 or 3 hours long. And you
uh,
just kind of have it playing in the background, and you listen kind of while you're kind of, doing some other stuff, but
yes.
like, but there's also some really short podcasts out there. And I want to have a good balance of like free flowing conversation, important information, back and forth, like kind of change it up, but like, like have fun with it. Cause this is kind of like therapy for me because, like I said, I'm kind of like learning how to be social again. with PTSD and like coming off of a lot of different medications and, being a prior alcoholic and, having all kinds of trauma and things in life. But like, I want to have it like, I want to do something different than I've done before. Like with the podcast I've done before, we kind of structured it, but we also kind of had like a flow, a conversation, but like we didn't ever have like special guests. And a lot of the podcasts I listen to, like they always have different guests on, and it's always interesting because you get to hear all these different perspectives from different people around the world. And that's what I like. And I kind of want to provide that. But I also want to have, I have a few other people that want to be regulars as well. And I think it'd be very interesting, and it'll definitely, I think, just give this show like the kind of variety that I hope will gain, kind of not like a huge following, but like I want it to be able to interest people, like, and plus I want it to be helpful more than anything. Like I want people to have fun and listen and learn things, but like if I can help one person out there, like with their mental health, then I feel like I've done my job kind of thing,
I understand.
because, but yeah, I definitely want to get you back on here as much as possible because this is pretty cool. Like I feel like I could talk to you for like,
Oh, man.
we could just keep going, man. Like I feel like it, but like, all right. So, let's see here. I was going to do this, but I'm going to save that for a later time.
Okay.
Do you have any, shout outs that you want to do? Any?
Just shout out to all my my 40 something 4300 followers out there. On
Twitter, and where can they follow you at
SoopaMannieB, SoopaManieb. Just
and you're
follow
also
me.
a streamer. Do you
I
have
am a
a
streamer.
Twitch?
I do have a Twitch. Same username, twitch.tv/SoopaMannieB. Once I get everything set up, I will have a just chatting time, just drinking coffee, just talking with people out here. Also,
Cool.
you'll be seeing me stream a lot more Nintendo games. Probably a little bit of Destiny. You never know. Just make sure when you see that light, just hit that subscribe button, hit the follow button, and then hey, I'll see you on there. So, all right,
Cool,
but
man.
thank you for bringing me on, man. I appreciate it. Like I said, I could be a regular on here if you need it. Just shoot me a DM and on Twitter, and then we get this situated. Okay.
Absolutely. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Rian from the Reincarnation podcast. He was the guest last episode. So if you guys have any questions about psychedelic substances or meditation, definitely look him up, look up his podcast. He's a wealth of knowledge in that area, and he definitely has helped me guide me in a lot of good directions. I'm been trying out different forms of meditation and things, and it's all thanks to him and the research he's done for several years. All you guys listening out there, follow the website and Twitter and Instagram. Please send us an email if you have any questions about this content. wormholemanifest@gmail.com. The Twitter is wormfestpod or at wormfestpod, and Instagram's wormhole_manifest. I know I say this at the end of every episode, but like the all the social media links, and of course we're on like Spotify and Anchor and all that, and I'll probably make a commercial and put in between this episode. But again, Manny, thanks a lot, man. Thanks for being on here.
You're welcome.
I really look forward to getting you back on here and like just digging into some of this stuff because it's really cool. Like like I said, I don't do a lot of socializing, so this is kind of like my therapy for the week. Like getting to talk to someone real.
Yeah, I understand.
So I appreciate it, man.
You're welcome, man.
All right, everybody out there, thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.